Hello, my dear friend, and welcome to the Spiritually Engineered Podcast, where we take a deep dive into the human experience from a spiritual perspective. Come on in, and I invite you to stay. So every year, the Way Shores College, they organize a special retreat called the International Regrouping. Now, this retreat has been going on for like decades, and I remember learning how it initially started out with special retreat programs, but it was held only specifically in Puerto Rico, whom at the time, who was the original founder of the college, before his son took over, would organize it like that until the current one, the son, he decided to have it so that it varies from year to year rather than just making it exclusively in Puerto Rico. And my first IR experience was like back in 2019. During that time, I was working full time as an admin support staff for a private school, a Catholic private school that I went to as a kid, but working as an alum full time. And I remember when I made the decision to go, it was really the first time that I've ever allowed myself to have like an extended break. I remember in the past when I would get asked for PTO or personal time off, I always felt like a beggar in the sense that, okay, I have to be careful not to ask for too much. Oh, I can only request like a weekend to go. And that's in essence what I did. I would take off maybe like a Friday or a Monday, and I'd have some kind of weekend adventure, which was great. Nothing wrong with it. But I never gave myself that permission to say, okay, I actually want an entire week off. And part of it was because at that job, I was responsible for a lot of things. A lot of important pieces I had to make sure were I had to make sure all the gears of this big machinery of the day-to-day hustle working smoothly. From like overseeing the meal program to helping out with the classes, making sure students were going where they needed to, being on top of like finances, like a lot of things. So it was a very healing thing for me to go on this endeavor. And at the time, I worked closely with the president of the school, and I remember he was being very supportive, even though he can come off as a type of person like other people you meet him and you're like, wow, who's this guy? He's definitely like I would say, in my opinion, an acquired taste. To get to know that person. But he's genuinely a good, kind individual. He's pretty awesome, and I appreciate and have learned so much from him. And I remember he was telling me that he was very supportive of me going, like, go, and I had thoughts of like, okay, maybe he's probably going to be against it, but he was very supportive. So fast forward, and so then I went to that retreat program, and then I met my friend and mentor there, and I met other people as well too that they were doing the same spiritual work that I was pretty much getting into as a new person, relatively, when it comes to like the practices, working with guidance, working with intuition, working with my energy, etc., making it practical. And ever since I went to that first international regrouping, I had this track of like making it a part of my annual routine that I would go every year, and it usually will be around like between February and March during that time period. And I would keep going from year to year until I kept on going from since 2019 till about 2023, when it was right around the time I was going through some transitions, life transitions. I had left my first my first full-time job ever to just go through some changes and work through some stuff, like let go of that and move on to other things. Um, so, and I remember I spent like months out in Iowa to hang out with my mentor, and but also to do some work and to help out as well too, like organize like a an exchange to be on his property because he has a lot of like spaces there. It's right. It's very. I don't know how many acres it is, but it's a good amount of land that he has, and they have dorms and stuff. All perfect for when we have our annual summer camp that happens in like late June to early July. Is a perfect place to really have people to come together who have an interest in working on themselves. So fast forward now, so I had that break, and now this year, 2026, I decided to go back to the IR. And initially, I was like, I don't know if I want to go because of I was like, just because I was thinking about like how expensive it was to go, and thinking about, oh man, with the travel and like the fears I have around flying, because I can be an anxious flyer. And so like that, a lot of things that I look at it and I'm wondering like these are all excuses. These are all fears trying to numb me, trying to paralyze me. And so with the mixture of like a lot of stuff that I've been personally going through in my own journey, I just for at some point I thought, you know, it's not every day I get to go to New Zealand, which I don't know if I've said it earlier, but that was, the place destination this year at the IR. And I remember when I made that decision, it was sort of last minute. And of course, I had to pay the price for it in the form of higher price plane tickets round trip. Oh, geez. Bye bye $2,000, more or less. But it's all good. Because I had the money. The fear was like, I think one of the things that came up was like, oh, but I don't want to waste the money or all this. I'm like, hold up. I can't be holding on to money. Like, aside from using it for like the essentials, day to day essentials, I also want to use that money for my experience, to have experiences. I may not have another opportunity to go to New Zealand if I don't take this chance now. And so I was tuning into like sincerity with myself and be like, I'm going to go. Screw it. A lot has been going on, lots of good things, if anything, have been working well for me. And I think it's in my best interest that I go this year. And especially knowing that it's been good energy when I've gone in the past. It's always been a good thing, a launch pad, if you will, to help me move forward with my chin up high, walking with confidence, ready to tackle anything life throws at me, no matter what it is. And really working in balance in the outer world and in my inner world as well. So I made the opportunity to I took the chance, and uh, I remember one of the interesting things about as far as the highlights of the retreat. I got into an issue with like customs because it was my first time going, and I remember I was like I had to fill out some paperwork and stuff in advance. Although I had to do it, I did it electronically. I was trying to make a connecting flight when I flew into Auckland in the northern island of New Zealand. But my final destination was the southern island in Wanaka. But when I was going there, um, I was going through an area where they were processing people's passports, and when I went to because there was an kiosk, electronic kiosk that people had to just it was like a self service style type of thing, and they had someone facilitating and monitoring in case something comes up. And when I put my passport in, sure enough, something came up. And so they pulled me aside and had me spoke with the lady to further look at my stuff, ask me some questions, and then she was like, "Boom! All right, here, sit behind us. We're gonna have somebody see you in a moment." And I'm just like, "Okay, that's weird." And so then eventually, the officers I started going with like the customs folks. I ended up going to like an area where I I was getting they were going through all the checks and stuff like that, asking questions and all these things. And I remember at a certain point, I was just like, "Yo, what's going on here?" And it was like, they were doing a lot of things. Let's just say it was to save you all the nitty gritty details. they were just doing a lot of like their protocols to kind of check to make sure that I didn't fit a description for anybody sus going into the country. They were just doing their job. And so, after, at a certain point, I had to wait. And there was like this possibility of like me maybe not being able to go, or like getting kicked out, basically deported from the country. But after waiting, they came back. They told me the good news that, I'm good to go. And so they helped me get my stuff. Um, and I ended up, and long story short, regarding my flight, because of that whole situation, I ended up missing my flight. And but fortunately, I was able to get it rebooked for the next day. But that would mean I missed a portion of the retreat. But the plus side of it, I got to see a friend of mine whom I connected online virtually, because we do a lot of the cool same spiritual work, and we work together in marketing stuff, and working with the college. And I had reached out to her because one of my other friends who's at the retreat told me, like, our mutual friend was in the area. She lives there. So then I was able to work things out. I reached out to her, told her my situation, and I was able to spend the night there and just chill for the night. And then I was able to get back. So now let me go ahead and fast forward. So that was like one interesting, so interesting highlight. But nevertheless, though, like I said, I think, New Zealand's pretty cool, and like the people there are pretty chill. It was just a situation where maybe it was just a timing thing, or it's just I might have given a look that perhaps I might have resembled somebody that maybe had caused some trouble in the past. So, but that for me, my point in all that was just to be respectful, and just cooperative. Because people, they're just doing their job and they understand why they're doing it, and I get it, and I understand from that bigger picture perspective. So that's why I was just like, it was my opportunity to really to stay relaxed, communicate, be honest, be real, and just trust the universe. Like, everything's gonna work out. And even at some point around my guidance, I kind of checked in with them, asking them, am I gonna be good, or am I screwed, or anything like that? And they gave me a little nudge. They gave me like a sensation. They communicated to me that everything was gonna be okay. It was gonna be no problem. So, talking about the IR experience itself, when I've gone to like the IR retreats, usually in the past, it's a week long program. But like, as I'm progressing, as we're all progressing in this energy that I think is really high, why I say it's high is because it felt like being there for months. Like, I felt like even this has like been maybe even years, where time felt meaningless. It was just timelessness. Everything felt warped. Like, what day is it? Like, it almost like, well, what is time? And that really is a reality of the universe when we look at the everything. Time is something, to my understanding, is part of the Earth game, this planet, in this dimension. And so I definitely have grown through and been through so much, from this retreat. But I wanted to take a moment, not necessarily to go over every single little detail that I could, because I got a lot of information. Like, how it's structured is like, we'll have our facilitator, my mentor, who, he puts this all together. He'll help walk us through some stuff, share some like spiritual concepts about energy in general, as it relates to relationships, as it relates to work, social environments. Like, he shares a bit of what he's put together, but he also channels as well too. And when we talk about certain areas in the curriculum, people will have an opportunity to be able to share, as it relates to that topic, what's been coming up for them. And sometimes he'll come in and he'll channel, any insights to help the person, who's up center stage, and all, because people come up to share, and they'll, and how he works it, it's like helping to guide the person that's on, at the front of everybody else, of all the retreats, like in the front of the classroom, so to speak. you know um, and that's really, and one of the things I appreciate about the college is that our consultations, as a spiritual consultant myself, one of the things that, how we work with people in our services, we always serve as guides. We never serve as any type of gurus. We never tell anybody what to do because everybody's free to choose. Everybody has all their answers within. Our job is just to be a clear channel and help bring out their wisdom, to help bring out their answers within, to help guide them. And it can never be any more further than closer to the truth than that in our service. And so that's why kind of bringing a bit of that into this retreat energy. And then we'll do a whole range of different energy techniques to raise our vibration, opportunities for us to be a channel for each other. Get to practice our psychic abilities and channel. You could say like do some readings for each other, and working with our gifts. And so it's a very interactive, hands-on class. So like, yes, there's a lecture portion to it, but then we relate with experiences. We get into having some techniques to expand further, a lot of healing techniques and stuff. And then we'll even have opportunities to integrate what we're learning in the classroom when we go out into the real world, into the civilized society. When we get into, if we're going to the store or something, or in this case, there'll be outings as well in addition to the retreat program. And part of that is to integrate what we've been putting together in the classroom. But then the other aspect to it is just to enjoy the experience, to have fun. Because you got to have fun. My mentor always would say, if you're going to be spiritual, tell jokes. Tell some jokes. It's not, and it shouldn't have to be all so serious and heavy all the time. Imagine that, right? Coming from the mouth of this guy who's all about spiritual, but it's true. And I know for me, that is always going to be an essential reminder for myself as I move from day to day. It's like, I only need to do a little bit to really progress spiritually. I don't need to take myself too serious. Relax. I'm good. Everybody's good from a bigger picture perspective. And what's cool, when we have breaks, because we'll have breaks all throughout, because to be in like sitting down all the time and just taking in stuff, it's not healthy, and the facilitator, a mentor, he understands this 100%. And so there'll be time for like water in, water out, snack breaks. And then there's also opportunity to ask anybody has jokes. And so he'll invite people to come up to the front of the class, and, share a joke, and it's like, and it's all just completely invitational. People have the option if they want to, or they don't have to. You're not forced to go up there. You're not forced to do anything you don't want to do. And it's more of like that understanding we have. It's like, I'll say it in the eye, I get out of life exactly what I put into it. So I'll get what I need from this retreat experience proportion to what I put out, to the extent of how much I show up. Again, that's completely optional. And our spirit guides know this and understand this and respects this. That's what separates a high soul from a confused soul. Like in religious traditions, they talk about unclean spirits, etc., etc. The main difference is high souls respect personal autonomy and freedom. And they're beautiful examples of true love, unconditional love. I'm talking about giving of myself without hooks. No expectations, nothing, nada. So people have the opportunity to share some jokes. And to me, when he does that, I see it as opportunity for me to like, feel more relaxed in my own self, have, develop, unfold more of my confidence and unfold more of my charisma as I tell jokes. I mean, I'm not so good with like story jokes, which I know some of them do. I know he has like story jokes that they're pretty funny. We even have some dirty jokes in there too. That's how you know we're super spiritual. We tell some dirty jokes. At least I know I did. And they're cool people. They're laid back. We're talking like a lot of the people that were in this retreat are like in their 50s, 60s, and 70s plus. There were less than a handful that were maybe like 45 or below. I'm 34, just to give some perspective. So I'm like chilling with like old timers, but I have nothing but love and respect for them. And they've just been awesome examples of just like genuinely pretty chill, cool, real spiritual people, really people with like true concern. for themselves and others. So we got that going on. So that's definitely an important thing. So because at times it does get heavy. People go up when they talk about a certain area in their life that's been coming up for them, and it gets emotional. But what's cool is that the facilitator does a good job of being able to work with the person there, because it can get it can get chaotic at times when emotions are involved. But it's part of the human experience. It's so. And he's developed himself, and he's done the work enough to be able to meet the person even in their emotional vulnerability. And and that's so cool, man. I really admire that as like a powerful skill to develop and work on. And so that's kind of like painting you a bit of a picture of the whole experience. Like, it's super cool. I think it's like one of my favorite things that I get to do. It's one of my personal favorite excuses to go travel and see the world. I was able to. I went to Costa Rica. Like I said, I went to Kauai. I've been to the Florida Keys. A couple other places because of this awesome experience, and I'm so grateful for it. And I'm looking forward to see what other parts of the world I can check out. In with this retreat or through this retreat. But I'm also in the process as well on going on personal endeavors myself, solo endeavors to go travel in other parts of the world. Um, Definitely had some friends. At least I know one friend of mine, very dear to me, that she's very inspirational because she's definitely traveled to other places in the world. And just seeing her share on her socials, um, her experiences and her journey herself is like really inspiring. And it's like, and I appreciate, you know, uh, souls like her that inspire me, that activate something within me to get up and go and live my life, claim my best life. I have nothing but love and gratitude. Seriously. And so that's why it's part of my thing of like wanting to see more of the world, because for me it's like expanding my big picture perspective, because sometimes being in one spot can feel like it seems like it's like everything, but it's not. Things can feel large and small at the same time, you know but I think when I go out and travel outside of my city, my city, DC, I get to come to that bigger picture perspective. Like, there is a big world out there, and not every society in every country thinks the same or going through the same situations that we are. And it's always an eye-opening experience to just learn from other cultures. And and I'll just say this: if you have the opportunity to go to New Zealand specifically, it's pretty far out there, but man, it's so worth it. It was so worth it. The energy there is really relaxed. And compared to like the US has, I don't know about you, but what I pick up often is like there's like a lot of tension, a lot of stress um, in the environment, that it really, it just, it's understandable why the state of our society here in the United States specifically is the way that it is. And but to me, I'm using that as fuel so I can keep moving forward in my service, so I can give of myself, do the best that I can, where I have power and influence to have that to impact people positively, to inspire. That's all that really ignites in me, this like this fire inside me. Like, I need to do my part, and I know what I'm going to get out of it and giving of myself to people. That's also an important aspect as well, in my endeavors to find ways to be of service, because I think we all need that. It's something that the soul craves, because in that being of service, everybody wins. I give to, not only am I giving to the person, or people, but I'm also giving to myself in that process. And, in my opinion, true service is more sustainable than compared to like being a servant. Being a servant is like, okay, I'm being selfless. I'm going to do things for everybody, and I'm not going to do much for myself. Oh, maybe I can't help myself. I can help other people, but I can't seem to do much for myself. Can you relate? And so that really is the difference between them, to be of service and being a servant. And the key word for that is sustainability. So, so without getting to all the stuff about the IR experience, because I did work through a lot of things, a lot, and I'm still working through and integrating a lot of it right now. But one of my highlights from the trip were the outings. So we had two outings where we went to basically to some swimming spots. And mind you, in New Zealand, they're like lakes, and so they're like actually like given the climate and the area there, they're like glacial water. So in other words, the water was cold as hell. Did somebody say polar plunge? And I remember before even getting out there, I made a decision within myself, and I said, I'm going to go swim. I'm going to go and do it. And so in both instances, when we went to those outings, the first one we had gone to, we had to like take a boat that took us to Lake Wanaka, and we were going through some islands along the way, because there's some islands if you get farther away, because the Lake Wanaka is freaking huge. It's big. If you're looking at a map, or even just if you've been there yourself, you'll know what I mean. And so we went through a couple islands, and we had a tour guide, giving us facts, historical facts and information. And so we went to this one island, I think it's called Moahu. And on this particular island, there's like a lake at the top. And it was a result of a formation of like the glacier mountains, and like, I don't know the whole the physics, the sciences behind all that, but the earth science behind it. But basically, the formation of like how from the glacier, the polar, not the polar, but like the snows in the mountains and stuff, whenever snows would shift, uh, the different form of like water kind of moving through, it created like a hole, thus creating this lake, glacial lake. And so I remember when I stepped, when we were there getting ready, I was kind of like taking my time, and like I remember feeling like super nervous within myself, like, oh my god, the cold water, because I'm not a huge fan of the cold water. I'm like that guy, you put me in water and I'm outside, I'll be like shivering like a chihuahua. But so I remember like when I was getting ready, and it's like I have my friend there, just like, I asked her to take some pictures, for memory, so I can look back on it. And I remember as we were making our way down to the section to get to this lake for the first spot, I can remember like the fears and the worries that kept coming up. But I was locked into my decision of, I'm getting in this water. So when I stepped foot inside that lake, I felt that cold water. I was like, whoa. But I slowly kept inching forward, little by little. And then at a certain point, I kind of stopped, almost midway, kind of. And then I was like, all right, now it's time to really sink in. And so then I did. I allowed myself to just go in, and I did like a little doggy paddle. And as soon as I went inside, yo, I felt it in my chest. I was like, yo, this cold water. That's why I doggy paddled for like not even a foot before I started to turn around back to like the shallow part of the lake where I could stand up. And man, was I feeling it. But I'll never forget the fulfillment I had from having done it. I'm like, yo, this is so cool. I feel cold, but this is awesome. And like I had three of my other friends join in as well too, you know. And I remember in that moment, I was the first one to go. Like because they were telling me they were gonna go, but I intentionally put myself at the front. Like, let me be the one to lead the way. I'll get in, because that was a me for myself, like a belief in myself that I can do it. And then also, I want to be like, as a metaphor, like I want to be an inspiration to do something that other people maybe would be fearful of or worried about, and to see me like, nah, I'm gonna cut through this. Watch me, fam. Let me cook. That was part of like, for me, the intention behind of like going there first. Because usually with other stuff in the past, like if there's some activity that I'm nervous about, I'll just kind of wait and observe other people doing said activity that makes me worried, and I'll just be like one of the last people to go. That's been the trend in the past. But this time around, nah, I'm gonna be at the tip of the spear. I'm gonna go forth. And so that was like that experience at the lake. And then the second spot was like they call it the blue pools. And I'm telling you, the glacier waters in New Zealand are, even though it's cold, it looks so beautiful. My one regret was not having brought goggles with me so that I can like look underneath the water and how freaking clear it was. It's like, oh man, it is such a thing, a beautiful thing to just take in. And it's one of those moments that I feel so grateful to be here and living life, to be here this lifetime at this point in time in human history. I'm like, wow, what a time to be alive, you know? And so, same situation with the second spot. I was like, okay, I'm gonna dip my feet. Like I was preparing myself mentally. The all the machinations, my mentor would say, that can happen with our intellectual nature when I feel insecure. But I had to trust myself, and I'm like, okay, let's take the steps. And when I felt the water at the second spot, that one was colder than the first, but I kept going slowly. And then at a certain point, I just kind of went all in. So it was like, rather than just going incrementally, for me, I felt like I just needed, like, at a certain point, I just need to keep going. If I kept going about it very gradually, I'll be putting myself under the stress mentally of like, oh, this is cold. Oh my God, I don't know. And it puts myself in this space within where I can get into this ping pong. Should I go? It's too cold, but I want to go. And for me, to take action and just freaking do it, go, to me has been a healing thing to combat overthinking. Because in my experience of overthinking, it's like that game of ping pong within. I'm just like back and forth, and I'm not doing anything. I'm wasting time. And when I waste time, that's when when time doesn't become my ally, it becomes my enemy. But when I make use of my time, seize the moment, carpe diem, I think is the Latin term, then that's when time is my ally, you know? And all that was, man, it was so powerful to just move through that, man. And it's just, to me, it just really, I'm grateful and appreciative of the energy of this retreat, because there's a lot of support from spirit guides and from spirit, the universe, you know. And it's just like, you know, I can tell you all these things, but nothing will beat that over actually being there in person and to experience it. It's like one of those situations you just had to be there, you know? Almost like, you know, if you ever take photos of, like, I took some photos when I was there, and I remember I was talking to one of my friends there, and yeah, I think she brought up like, yeah, the photos will never do the actual view justice. It's like if you truly want to gaze at the beauty of a view of a landscape, the best is just to be there in person. No amount of like cameras and photoshops could ever replicate how awesome to behold something like that, the natural world. It's just, it doesn't, it just can't. Nothing beats actually experiencing and being there. So looking at the third outing, so the third one was more of like people were kind of going all over their own way. So like the past two was like everybody, you know, it's like a whole school field trip, if you will. But on the Friday, for the outing for Friday, people had options to do specific things. And I remember even when I got there at the airport, when I got picked up by one of my friends, she wanted to, because she was helping to organize, put together the whole retreat, working with the main facilitator. She was telling me how she had never gone jet boating before, and the times that she's been in New Zealand, she never had the opportunity. And so she asked me about if I would be interested, and I was like, yeah. And as the date got closer, as the day, you know, Friday, because this was like Monday when we were talking about this, but as the day progressed and it got to Friday, when I knew that that was going to be the day to have the opportunity to do that, because she booked it on that day. Again, like I had told her, like I said, I had made that decision, like, yeah, I'm gonna go jet boating, let's go. But even when I had made that decision, the the spooks, the well, not the spooks, but just like the fear within me, the chatter, the machinations, they started coming up again. And I started getting into this ping pong again. Should I go or should I not go? Maybe I should go with the group that's going to the winery or something. Maybe I shouldn't go. Like, what if the boat capsizes or something? Because I was thinking about jet boat, right? So my mind was going to that extreme place. Oh my god, what if I capsize and I fall and I drown or something? Or like it's amazing how the misuse of my imagination and how far it goes with the worry. I mean, my god, it's like at times where I know I need to go outside, take a cold shower, touch some grass, chill, take some deep breaths. Like, ow, chill, my God, please. Your brain is like burn. You're doing too much. You're doing too much. But I still stuck with it. I'm like, you know what? I had these fears and worries, but I'm gonna still go. And part of the motivation was I didn't want to let my friend down because I had told her like I'm gonna go and do it. I'm gonna join you. So it was me, her, and one other person. The three of us did it together. And so then, fast forward to that moment, I was getting my things, putting my stuff away in the car, things that I was worried that I don't want to get wet. Had with these preconceived notions of how I thought it was going to turn out, which were very extreme and pretty crazy. I have a very active imagination. I mean, for better or for worse, right? And so then after our guide kind of walked us through some of the safety stuff and so we started going. And to kind of fast forward to the whole experience, looking back, the boat would go fast, and I remember, I think part of why the fear was there because I remember I saw videos of like this, of what the people on that specific, the company that does the jet boating stuff, they would do these things where they would just take the boat super fast and they would basically do like a U-turn, like a very quick spin around. And that's why I had that thought of that fear of like, what if I get topped over and I fall and I drown and X, Y, and Z? Because she was showing me the videos, one of my friends, to give me a sense of, okay, a picture of that opportunity, what to expect more or less. So when I was actually experiencing it, it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad like I made out to be. And that really is like um, the bane of my existence, if you will. Where like I anticipate something and I feel like it's gonna go a certain way, oftentimes pretty bad, and then I go to have that experience. I'm there, I'm living it, I'm experiencing it, and it's like, oh, it was not as bad as I thought. Wow, no shit, Al. No shit, drama queen or drama king. But that's really what it is, though. For me, it's like if I'm not careful with what do I indulge in my thoughts, especially like if it's drama, that right there, that's coming back to like if I allow the worries, the fears to be in the driver's seat of my life, I will never have a fulfilling life. In fact, I will strip myself of a fulfilling life. I will bar myself from it. And give it time, and all the other stuff are going to start manifesting, the not so good things. And that's why, we all experience fear. But I think when it comes to fear, like where our power is our capacity to work through the fear, tapping into our courage and our bravery, and also believing in ourselves. And I would also add trusting in myself that everything's going to be all right. Even with the chatter or the narrative my mind puts out, oh my God, I'm going to die. Okay. Whatever. I mean, sure. Okay. Everybody's still fine. Everything's going to be okay no matter what. So it's like being able to like learn how to soothe myself, and work with myself in this way. Because like I said, I have a history of working, of dealing with anxiety in one shape or another. But I see it as just opportunity. It's not a stigma. It's not something I identify with. It's just a part of my own curriculum, the way I see it. And I'm grateful and appreciative of the growth that I've been through because of working through those challenges. And when I've had stuff happening, whether it's through the retreat program and other life experiences I've had, other places that I've been to, other activities that I've been involved with people or by myself, I mean, I look back and recognize how it's all helped me to develop more of my inner security. And so having said all that, because this is a lot, um, but it's, I think, one of the things that I got that stuck with me, was, I remember my guidance, my spirit guides, when I was like, we were channeling some information, trying to like listen for insights. And I remember I heard my guidance say, relax on the move. And I think that phrase captures, my experiences of those outings that we've had. And so just going to those outings again was really like one of my favorite moments and one of my own growth moments. And what I've learned, even more from all that, is that understanding that I have the power, and like when I know that the real me, the authentic me, is, like those experiences taught me. I had an experience for when the real me, the authentic me, the soul me, is more powerful than fear, than worry, than doubt, stronger than any kind of, any idea of separation, stronger than ignorance. It's like, I mean, that to me proves that I know you got it. I know you're capable of handling anything your life throws at you. I only need to look at it for myself to know that you got it in you too. This isn't just an exclusively Alvin thing. Because I know anything that I can do, other people can do it. And for some, and maybe many, they can do it better. And I'm not here to try to be the best in terms of comparing to the people. I just want to do and be my best for myself and to show up, you know, and recognizing everybody's got their gifts and their uniqueness and all that stuff. I ain't got no time to be wasting in comparing. Only if it's for the sake of constructive feedback. Other than that, it's a waste of time. I won't indulge in it. And something that I would ask, for you, or my intentions for you, you can even say what I would pray for you, is that no matter what comes up, as you're navigating and treading your path, going after what you want and need as within from your core. Whenever those doubts and fears start creeping in, I just, all this to say, I just want you to remember that you're capable of cutting through that. That's the pioneering spirit in you that has the capabilities to cut through any BS from the environment, from other people. It's one of your superpowers. And because of that, and I know that you have that in you, you have my respect by default. From one soul to another, from one God to another. I respect you. And just to be clear, we are all God. The universe, the all, one with all. Oneness. And so I'll end here, my friend. This was a very special one. I actually enjoyed sharing this one, and I appreciate you for the opportunity to listen to me share. As I'm regrouping more and integrating more of that beautiful retreat experiences. And who knows, maybe I might see you one day if you decide to check out the show notes for resources and learn more about the Wayshores College as an organization and what we do, our mission and stuff. These are the folks that I'm involved with, and it's folks that I will continue to be involved with for the rest of my life. And I legit mean that. I know for a fact. Because it's done so much for me now, and I know there's so much more to gain this lifetime. I didn't get this far just to be here. So, whether you're here tuning in, always, from time to time on my podcast, listening in, or perhaps we may cross paths at some point in person. And in which case, I would be honored. That'd be awesome. Otherwise, I wish you the best in your own personal endeavors. And I believe in you. So this has been another episode of the Spiritual Engineer Podcast. I'm your host, Alvin Cepeda, signing out. And as always, take care, my dear friend.